Maybe I'll just take my sweater off because I'm so hot in here. Can you see not my arms? Oh.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Gospel Unplugged. My name is Pastor Ben Cieslik, and today I am joined by the one and only
Pastor Becca Freeman.
And Pastor Freeman, this week we are picking up right where we left off last week with the story of Moses and the Israelite people in Egypt. And so today we're going to read the story. You're going to tell me all about it.
Okay,
and
can't
then,
wait.
We'll see what fun we can uncover together. The Pharaoh commanded all his people, "Every boy that is born to the Hebrews you shall throw into the Nile, but you shall let every girl live." Now a man from the house of Levi went and married a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a fine baby, she hid him 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and plastered it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and placed it among the reeds on the bank of the river. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river. While her attendants walked beside the river, she saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to bring it. When she opened it, she saw the child. He was crying, and she took pity on him. "This must be one of the Hebrews' children," she said. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughters, "Shall I go and get you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes." So the girl went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she took him as her son. She named him Moses, because, she said, "I drew him out of the water." Well, this is one of the stories that I remember as a kid, like hearing over and over again. My grandma gave me these record players, or these records of Bible stories, and I would listen to them as I fell asleep. It was very nerdy.
No, it's so cool.
No, it's not cool.
They're super memorable, those formative moments.
But
I love that.
Some of these kind of core Old Testament stories are like burned into my consciousness because I heard them over and over again as a kid. But, reading it this time, there were a number of things that I don't know, that I hadn't really thought about, or maybe because now I'm a parent, you pay different attention to it. But thinking about how do you hide a baby for 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
And then just the grief that is associated with trying to preserve your child's life when all of the external forces around you are, threatening its very existence. And so I was just kind of struck by the parental experience of Moses's parents and kind of the roller coaster ride they must have been on throughout this whole, ordeal.
For sure. That's a great lens to read this text through. And I think we all do. It might be one of the more familiar Bible stories, even for people who haven't grown up in a church or in a faith community as well. It's just it's a beautiful story and significant in a lot of ways. It kind of just shows the way I think God works in our world. And
you'd mentioned that God isn't explicitly mentioned in this story, but you do, as you read it, get a strong sense of God's activity in and through human actors.
And I particularly take comfort in the significance of the women in this story.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to the Old Testament, they are the reasons Moses is able to live. And interestingly, didn't have much value, obviously, because the decree was to let all the men die and keep the women alive.
Yep.
And the women in that ability to stay alive kept others alive. And so it's that is a beautiful thing to me. It's the women who saved Moses. But there are lots of other things too.
I think it's the other thing that kind of jumped out at me at this time is Pharaoh's daughter. I can't imagine a scenario in which she doesn't know what the decree her father has issued. I mean, she even verbalizes it like, this must be one of the Hebrew boys.
Yeah.
The ones that my dad is trying to kill.
And the danger with which she must be living.
And yet she made this, confronted by sort of the beauty of this child's life.
Yeah.
Chooses to preserve it when she would have every reason not to.
Yeah.
Self-preservation, following her dad's orders, all of those kinds of things. And she chooses to find a way to not just preserve it, but then, protect it in a pretty profound way by ultimately bringing him into her own home.
Yep. And she doesn't do it alone. I mean, I think that's also significant. She's, surrounded by a couple other women at least. And that's pretty cool just to see the teamwork and not totally, they're not defiant in some senses towards the Pharaoh's decree, but they kind of are,
pretty defiant.
Well, they are defiant.
I mean, it's not an
in a
outward.
way that it's not exactly. It's like
right.
it's like in
subversive.
A way that's very almost in a respectful way. I don't know quite how to. You wouldn't consider.
I wouldn't call
respectful.
it respectful. I think it's pretty subversive. It's a way in which I think what you're pointing to is women biblically, historically, didn't have power in traditional ways, and so they exercised it in subversive ways. And so you have this beautiful way in which Pharaoh's daughter is very subversively undermining what her dad is up to preserve life, which is kind of, it's not kind of, it's really powerful.
It's super powerful. And it's another example that leads us into our Christian story of Jesus. I mean, I think this story mirrors that very much. It's like the very place of death becomes the place of life. So the river with which they were sending him to die, the little babies, becomes the place where he's saved. And similarly, the cross where Jesus goes to die becomes our symbol and our place of salvation. And yet, we as people don't like to look at these seemingly hopeless places as places of possible hope or possible new life.
Yeah. I mean, Moses plays a very pivotal role in saving God's people. So like this one person's deliverance becomes, he becomes an instrument of a whole people's deliverance. God works through this one to save the many. Yeah. You're right. There are some pretty powerful parallels there.
Yeah.
Well, as we get ready to figure out what to say on Sunday, what questions would you have for people to consider?
I have a couple, and my first one goes like this. How does Moses' story challenge your assumptions about how God works in the world? And then secondly, how has God turned a seemingly hopeless situation into new life in your own life? Yeah.
I like it.
Thanks. Yeah, there's so much more we could say, Ben, but we'll leave it for Sunday, I guess.
Let's leave it for Sunday. And we look forward to seeing you all in church on Sunday. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.